I think we're all ready. So here's Jason, and he's going to show us the Linux subsystem inside of Windows. I don't know about this presentation, but we'll see.
Yeah, I felt a little dirty reinstalling this laptop. Used to run Fedora 29. Now I run Windows again. But it's my beater Alienware feature presentation, so I don't care what's on it. But anyway, someone a couple of presentations ago asked about the Windows subsystem for Linux. Hopefully fixed it for you. And or they are here. Because if that was the only person interested in this, that would really suck.
I'm interested, so
That's good. Okay, we got one, 2, 3, 4 and a half.
I use it.
There we go. But anyway, and I got the right epoch, as you can tell. I'm going to stop this presentation so I can show you Windows. Everyone knows Windows, right? The Walmart of operating systems. And what I'm going to show you is that I'm running Linux on it. And this doesn't look that impressive. I've got a pound prompt here, and if I do like a one-handed typing here, uname -a, you can see, if you're close enough, you'll see it's Linux, my host name, and 4.4.0 kernel -17134 Microsoft. Ever heard of that kernel before? Doesn't exist. That's because the Windows subsystem for Linux doesn't run Linux. All it is a kernel interface that allows a Linux userland from one of 5 different distributions, or more if you want to do it, to run on the Windows kernel. Yeah. So there's no Linux kernel running on my machine. I'm not running a virtual machine here, guys. In fact, if I go over here to this remote desktop connection, I'm remote desktop into localhost on port 3390, not 3389, the default port, 3390, because I started an XRDP server on my Linux machine. It's running Xorg perfectly, and I can do the same uname -a command here, and it's the same Linux, Alienware, whatever, 4.40, 17134 Microsoft. Yeah, I'm running 5 different Linux distros right now on the Windows kernel. There's no Linux kernel on my machine, and there's nothing up my sleeves. In fact, I'll show you that it's not a VM. I'll prove to you that I'm not hiding anything. Let's go over here to apps and features, and let's go down here to, oh come on, my resolution is so small. Programs and features. And let's go over here to turn Windows features on or off, and you'll see that I'm not running Hyper-V. It's unchecked. I don't have Oracle VirtualBox installed. Okay, it's not installed. There's no virtualization, so I'm with VMware, nothing. There's no virtualization, no hypervisor on my machine at all. I'm just running Linux, 5 different Linux distros.
So you're running a graphical Linux application.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was possible, but
Oh, well. I proved you wrong,
that's
didn't I?
one of the reasons I'm here.
Okay, well, of course, everyone wants to run this program. Oh, come on. What is it? User keys. It's not in my path. I gotta type with one hand because I'm very carrying my phone here. Thanks, Bill. Oh my God, typing with one hand sucks. Here we go. You guys want to smack some bills? Of course, I have the high score in this game because I know where the high score file is. Get it? Bye. All right, so yeah, it runs fine. In fact, graphical applications, web browsers run just fine on it, perfectly fine.
Can you run all Linux application on this setup?
No, there are some big limitations. We're going to talk about those. But if you just want to, be the cool kid, hey, I'm running Linux on Windows kernel, then this is great. But you can't run a program like this. Nmap. You guys ever use Nmap? So go to open port tabs to your attack service. So small s. Let's do a TCP scan on localhost. So 127.0.0.1. Can't find the socket. You want to access something at the lower level of the IP stack. You want to access something that requires a kernel module. There's no Linux kernel. Unless Microsoft implements it in the Windows subsystem for Linux, that program won't run. So Microsoft developed this for a couple of reasons. We'll talk about it in a few seconds, but go ahead.
So you can run a graphical application. Can you do OpenGL?
Can you do?
OpenGL. Use
I
the
have
GPU.
no idea.
Okay. I'm hoping the answer is yes, but I suspect it's no.
No, I don't have that installed. Probably not available. Yeah, I would doubt it. OpenGL is going to require access to a kernel module. Yeah, probably. So it's probably not possible.
Can you run Linux LibreOffice in this setup?
Yeah, LibreOffice is installed, I think, by default. I hate LibreOffice, by the way. Oh no, it's not installed, but yeah, you can see the stuff that's on here, right? So this is XFCE, right? I'm not a big XFCE user, even though I know a lot of people who do use it. I haven't used it since XF stood for Xforms, but this is Kali Linux. Yes, you can see some of the Kali Linux hacking utilities, most of which do not work. Wireshark, no. Nmap, no. Ettercap, no. All my favorite tools, no. But what works really well is Metasploit. The Metasploit framework I have installed here. Oh yeah. You want me to play a video off of that? Okay. There we go. It's not going to be real fast, I'm sure, but let's do this. Video will play after the ad. Come on. Actually, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's really, really smooth. Of course, you can't hear anything because I don't have sound plugged in. But yeah, that's actually that's pretty darn smooth, guys. Yeah.
Okay, so how?
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Can you bridge the two worlds, file systems, for example?
Yes, we're going to get to that in a few seconds. So before we do that, let me zip out here and tell you a little bit about the boring stuff, and then we'll come back. I wanted to start with this so that you had a little bit of interest. Like, hey, that's cool, I'm not doing that. I do it. I don't do it for the reasons that you think I do it for, but I'll tell you that at the end of the presentation.
Did you come up with an idea what's the limitation, what level the limitation, what can be done and cannot?
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. So to start with, why would you do this? There's a funny joke that came out a week ago. You obviously didn't. Can everyone see the blue screen? Installing Windows Update. There we go. So you get the Windows Update experience in Linux. Perfect. But this is what WSL is. And don't worry, this presentation I give to Paul every time I do one, and I also do a blog post that explains all the other stuff around these simple points. Okay, so that if you take notes, you don't have to take notes. You just visit my website on the first slide, jasonecker.net, and you'll see everything I talk about. It'll be automatically uploaded at midnight tonight, whether I'm at home or not. So this is what the Windows subsystem for Linux is. There is only one kernel on Windows. You're not running a Linux kernel, you're running one kernel. If you type dir in the command line, of course it's going directly to the Windows kernel. If you type ls in the command line, it is calling a Linux subsystem, which is actually two components, LX core, the plugin, and the Linux subsystem, LXSS, which takes that and runs it on the Windows kernel. And it works in Windows 10 beautifully. It works in Windows Server 2019 beautifully as well, too. And all you have to do is add a userland. So I'm not sure if you guys use the word userland a lot. I used to use it a lot in the old days, or if you install Gen 2 and other stuff like that. But it's all the other stuff that's not the kernel. So the file system, the binaries, the stuff that makes up the rest of your distribution. There's no kernel or core kernel like that. and you have to access it by running a Windows program. It's actually called Kali.exe. It's in a big long path I've got on a later slide, and you can run your Kali distribution. When they first came out with the Windows subsystem for Linux, you type bash.exe because they only supported Ubuntu. Now you can type ubuntu.exe to start Ubuntu, Kali.exe to start Kali, Debian to start Debian, OpenSUSE-42 to start OpenSUSE Leap 42, or SLES-12.exe to start SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 12. And more distributions are making their stuff available to run on Windows this way. And the reason they're doing it is for development. If I have like an Ultrabook or something, and I'm a developer, Microsoft made this for developers. In order to install, you have to enable developer mode. Let's do that in 2 seconds. But they made it for developers so that you don't have to mess around with VMs if you're going to test something on a LAN stack. So Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, you don't have to push it anywhere. You don't have any extra resources. This uses very little resources. Like XOR and XFCE and that Kali Linux is probably only using about 200 to 300 megs of RAM, right? All of it. So if you had like an Ultrabook with 8 gigs of RAM and your dev tools are taking up most of that, use this, right? Don't mess around with VMs. Right? I know Ubuntu, you give it a gig and it'll fly with no GUI, but still, you gotta worry about those CPU cycles too, right? So you can install multiple distros. I installed all 5 from the Windows Store. Why? Because I wanted to. Microsoft is always changing this. Like they are actively developing this all the time. It's a running target. It's great. It updates as Windows updates. You get new features and weird things all the time. It's pretty cool. If you want to know the underlying architecture, it's very, very complex. It's great. It hasn't been updated in a couple years. Like they have a blog post. We'll see it's 2016. They still have bash.exe instead of the distro.exe, right? But the core architecture hasn't changed. They just added to it over time. So if you read through the entire series of blog posts on TechNet, and you'll MSDN, then you'll kind of understand how it works. It's actually quite elegant. There's a lot. I'll be honest with you, even though I'm more of a open source Linux, Unix kind of person, Microsoft, Windows 10, the more I do a lot of development for Windows as well as open source, and what they've done with Windows 10 is actually quite impressive from open source point of view, right? And they're very open source friendly now, which is interesting. So how do you install it? Simple. You just go to settings. I didn't put the steps down here. I just kind of went to settings. You go to settings in Windows, then you get all those icons. You can choose updating security. So now we're in updating security number 2. You click on for developers number 3, and opens up this window. You just say, I want developer mode. That installs the developer mode package. It's about 300 megs, asks you to reboot. Great, so you reboot. Then, when you reboot, you go back to settings. But this time you're going to apps and features. Then you go to programs and features on the right-hand side there, right? That little link. And that's where you can add the WSL feature. Just like I went there earlier to show you that I didn't have Hyper-V. I still don't have Hyper-V. I checked on the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? Which is hard to see on that projector. But trust me, it says Windows subsystem for Linux.
A few years back, developer mode in Windows 10 was dangerous. They're saying you are exposing yourself to...
Developers are generally dangerous.
No, I mean running Windows in developer mode is more dangerous than if not.
Yeah, you're exposing your attack surface. You're increasing your attack surface. How much? To a developer, they don't care. We're making software. You're going to have to take that risk, right? If you're, working for the NSA or Canadian government, you're probably not going to enable developer mode on your network, and it's probably heavily locked down. VPN and everything you connect to.
So you have to be in developer mode all the time, or just during installing?
Yeah, as soon as it won't let you undo developer mode after you've installed the Windows subsystem for Linux. They'll tell you not to remove the Windows subsystem for Linux first. I run all my machines are developer machines that I run. Every workstation I use for development. So it's a no-brainer for me to enable it. you can always add extra security precautions. But you will get a warning from Microsoft when you go to developer mode that actually says this is going to do these things to your security. Make sure you have this protection in place. Okay, so if you didn't have Windows Defender enabled, which is quite good in Windows 10, then we'll tell you, hey, you're going to developer mode, you want this enabled for this reason, which I completely ignored, right? And then I enable Defender. But yeah, so there's a bit of a security. Who had a question?
Yeah. So I've got this software that I'm developing. I hypothetically would like to port it to Windows. I have no idea how to do it right now. I develop on Linux. Would the WSL environment be provide any advantages for building Windows executables from Linux source code?
Building Windows, not really. No. But I can tell you right now, if you're doing any Python development, Python development is really good in Windows Subsystem for Linux.
Okay.
Yeah, I do quite a bit of Python stuff, and it just runs fast. It runs cleanly. It's better than running Python on Windows. Believe it or not. And if you look online, you see people regularly doing the same thing. That's how I found it. That's how I, experimented with that. I saw a post online. I think it was on Ars Technica about how cool it is to do, Python development on Windows Subsystem for Linux. And okay, I'll try it out. Oh, this is pretty cool. Actually, it's just like having Linux on my machine, and works really well. Okay, so after you've done that, after you've installed Windows Subsystem for Linux, it reboots again, and you now have that kernel plugin that allows you to run Linux programs, Linux binaries. They have to be 64-bit though. No 32-bit binaries allowed. Like compared to 32-bit, that would be great. But the Windows Subsystem for Linux is 64-bit only. And you go to the Windows Store, so you click on the Windows Store icon on your taskbar, and you just type in Linux at the top. So I search for Linux. I see 5 distros. Look at that. I've got Ubuntu, SUSE Leap 42, SUSE SLES 12, Debian, just because, well, if it wasn't there, Debian couldn't say that they're on everything, right? Everything runs on Debian, right? So, even this farm runs Debian, as you can see. Right?
So which Linux distribution is better for developers? Ubuntu or Debian?
For Subsystem for Linux?
Yeah.
I would choose Ubuntu, actually, to be honest with you, only because I like Ubuntu more, but I don't use Debian that much.
But for developers, if you are working under Linux, isn't Debian the best environment?
It's just Linux. You can add this, whatever packages you add to it. It's just a digital. You can use SUSE or Red Hat or whatever. Right? Add the same packages. Open source, great. I never got the Debian versus Red Hat kind of stuff. I know there's a lot of hey, no, it's Debian or die, or
I just remember a comment at one of our previous session here. Someone said that Debian is the best for Linux development.
No, you can install the same tools on any Linux distribution. It's the tools that make it good for development, right? It's what you're testing on you want to do. And if you're doing cloud development like I do, the cloud runs a lot of Ubuntu, guys. A lot of Ubuntu. So it's really, I would be testing my code in an Ubuntu VM or an Ubuntu on the Linux subsystem on Windows, right? This is humor, guys. This is courtesy of Jeff. It's a farm running. It looks like a Debian logo. Right? But I chose all of them. Yeah. The Windows subsystem for? Is there a Windows subsystem for BSD? That's mind-boggling. I can't see that ever happening.
You're simulating the Linux kernel. There used to be, because I was on the development team for it, we sold it, we developed it back in the year 2000, and we sold it to Microsoft, and then they sold it for a while, but basically died, and then they kind of reinvented the whole concept of the Windows kernel instead of BSD kernel. But it used to exist, but it's not going to come back.
Yeah, that's anyone here use BSD?
Used to.
Used to? I used to back in the 90s when it was pretty much every ISP ran it, so we ran your proxy server.
Doesn't that file server count?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, so you got FreeNAS or something? Yeah, FreeNAS, that's BSD. It's great because, you puts ZFS on it. But, yeah, no, I don't run BSD that often. I have to write some questions about BSD for a certification vendor. Can't tell you about, but I don't use it very much. I have to spin up a VM every so often just to check it out and say, hey, that's kind of cool. Closest thing to BSD you're going to get is probably Mac OS, which is not really BSD. It's based on NextStep Unix, but the XNU kernel is 1/3 BSD kernel, the networking and file system, and then the rest is mock and IOKit. All right, so on that note, that's how easy it is to install. The thing is when you click on Kali, if you click on Kali, because I'll focus on that on my screenshots, I have all 5 installed. Read the description, because these URLs down there are links to Kali's website that have videos that show you how to install Xorg. Instead of installing a whole bunch of packages, they made a script that you can just wget. Wget the script, run it as root, boom, done, walk away. Right, so people spend a lot of effort actually doing stuff like that. Once you're done, whether you installed Ubuntu or OpenSUSE or SLES, you have to run this executable. What this does is it activates the Windows subsystem for Linux. These distributions, these user lands, are just sitting on your hard drive. They're not doing anything until this executable calls it, so you're not using any resources or RAM by installing all 5 until you run one of these EXEs. Then it takes, for Kali, probably about 300 megs of RAM because I have Xorg installed, but for the other ones, like 20 megs of RAM, 30 megs of RAM, it's really, really small, right? Because I didn't install a GUI in any of the other ones, right? And when you open it up, here's Kali.exe, it'll say installing, so it takes that, 200 meg download from the Windows Store and blows it up to about 800 megs. With Xorg, it's like 2.4 gigs. But you have to specify a regular username and Unix password, right? Because this is a different operating system. It's not going to grab the one from Windows. And then you got your prompt. And after you get that prompt, you can do all the same stuff that you're normally used to in whatever Linux distribution like Kali. Give the root user a password, switch the root user, update your distro. It'll update all those packages. Get that script that was in that video link. There's the actual path to it, but I mean, you don't need to memorize that or understand it. It's in that link in the Windows Store, right? And then run the script. That'll go and grab Xorg and a bunch of other cool software packages. Grabs a whole bunch of stuff, like 2 gigs of stuff. And then you can start your XRDP server, connect to port 3390, and get this. I'm just basically, right here, that's my Kali Linux. I've started my XRDP server, and actually I'm going to close it. Want to connect again there? Beauty. Log in as root. Oh, I think I have a root password. Use this root password thing. That's it. It's and I crack it up. Out of that, or one way to quickly solve it is just to stop the X. XRDP, I hate taking with one hand. Stop. Let's restart. The other. And you notice when it stops. Restarting. Or we can stop it very, very easily. That kill call. Remember that when you kill that executable, you're killing any connection to the Windows kernel that it could use. So I can open it up again. I can type Kali. Beauty. I'm in as a regular user. switch to the root user, type in my password. Start XRDP, look how fast it started, and it says disconnect listening on 000, so local IP on port 3390, and I can just go over here to Microsoft Terminal Services Client, desktop connection, and beauty. And you're probably wondering why I'm logging into X's root, not the regular user JSON. Well, it's Kali. Everything has to run as root in Kali anyway. You can't even run Wireshark, it's not as root Kali. So yeah, so we're back and running, guys. And that's how easy it really is. But this is designed for testing software. Right?
When using the normal user, does it pull from the Windows password?
No. That's why you have to specify the normal user. The first time you type in Kali.exe or the first time you type in Ubuntu, you have to create that Unix user. It's an NC password, an NC shadow, just like you normally expect. Susie, of course, will ask you if you want to make the root password the same right afterwards. But that's only because that's what Susie does.
So conceptually speaking, it's those executables that are the Linux machine. Right?
That executable basically tells Windows, the Windows kernel, run this Linux userland and let it access the Windows kernel by masking yourself as a Linux kernel.
But if you open the command window, you can't run a Linux commands in the command window, can you?
Oh, sure, okay.
Like just a regular CMD or PowerShell window?
Yeah, like, so what if I do this? So if I go over here, let's open up CMD. And I type ls. So I can't run ls, right? But what I can do is I can type bash.
Because that's the bash of the distribution.
The bash shell is running right now. It's an executable running on the Windows kernel. You notice I'm in as a regular user JSON. And I can go to ls, beauty. Okay. User.dat. I can do, ls-a, or I could put my screen there and do like, here's something interesting.
That bash is not interacting with the KWLUG that you're running, right? That bash is a parallel version.
Yeah, it says whatever, like if I want to run Kali, so I'm running Kali right now, right?
Yeah.
What if I want to run Ubuntu? You guys want me to run Ubuntu? Ubuntu. Ubuntu.exe. Now I'm running Ubuntu. They're both running. I can do an if config or something like that. And I can see my IP address. And by the way, it's the same IP address that the Windows host has. Because remember, there is no VM here. There's only one IP address in this machine. You're just letting a Linux distro use the Windows kernel, the Windows subsystem for Linux.
Yeah, the way it works is that you have Linux executables that can be run, like the Windows subsystem can run a program that could be a Win32 program, it can execute it, or it could be a Linux executable, and it can run it. You don't have to be inside the distro, that's just a package.
Yeah, but the executable has...
And notice when I type uname-a in any one of these distros, I get the same Windows kernel, which is 440.17.134 Microsoft. They're all accessing the Windows subsystem for Linux. It's just 5 different distros that are using the same kernel. More like a container does, right? I don't think that will be installed, but we'll find out. No. Let's see what we got over here. And if I close that down first, see if I have it on this
Can you run Windows executables from Linux?
There's no proc directory, right?
Yeah, can a Linux process run a Windows executable?
Can
A Linux?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Do you know the path to it? You guys know the path to Notepad, right? Or calc.exe? Yeah.
Windows System 32.
Every drive letter on Windows is automatically mounted under MNT. MNT-C would be C drive, MNT-D would be D drive, MNT-E would be E drive. MNT-C, and that's tab it out, so you can see /MNT/C. Where is calculator? Windows.
System 32.
System 32. Calc. .exe. Oh, crap.
It's like a backslash.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's like-
Ah, that was a Freudian slip. Isn't that awesome? So instead of using a path, I protected the next character. Now, this is not running in Linux. I'm just calling it. We're using the same kernel, guys. Think of Linux as sharing the same kernel as Windows. So you can run any, you could call Windows programs. You could write shell scripts and manage your entire domain if you're logged in as a domain admin.
Can you pipe from Windows to Linux, Linux to Windows?
Yes, and you can also access the Linux root file system very, very easily from Windows. The problem is it's flaky to write to it from Windows because to do that, Windows has to emulate the file system. So it's better to go from Linux to Windows. So what you do is, as a developer, you make symlinks, symbolic links, to your content that's stored on C drive or B drive or whatever, and you just make sure you redirect the pods or whatever to those symlinks. Because, I'll show you this, this is actually quite flaky, and I'll prove it to you. If you want to access your root file system, all you have to do is go over here to like your home directory. Let's go over here to C drive, users, I'm logged in as username JSON, great. App data, remember you hidden files and folders, so app data. And this is in the presentation, so you don't have to write this down. And you go to local, and packages. And notice I've got a package called SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, OpenSUSE, the Daemon project, Canonical, that's Ubuntu. And down here I've got Kali Linux. Look at that, eh? Kali Linux. Go to Kali Linux, go to local state, rootfs. That looks like my root file system at Kali, doesn't it? In fact, if I look at the size of this entire folder, this Kali Linux folder, this is my entire user land. It happens to be probably 2 point something gigs. Rub the monitor, speed it up. There we go. See, it works every time. Yeah, 2.2 gigs. Not bad, eh? That is your user land for Kali. They're all stored right here. And that user land can be activated by Kali.exe so that it can use the Windows kernel to do its stuff. Nice and simple.
So if you're running Kali.exe, can you launch one of those applications from the DOS window?
Yeah, I could launch a Linux application in my user land, or I could launch any Windows program by going /mnt/c/pathmaker.
Right, if you have Kali.exe running, if you open a DOS window, can you run one of the executables from one of the distros out of your DOS window?
Like a different distro?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to have Kelly
Yeah,
Pixie running.
It doesn't have, they're all separate user lands. Yeah, so I could have Kali.exe running, Ubuntu exe
Right.
running, OpenSUSE.
Yeah, that's fine. But if they're running, can I run applications from those, like rootfs, in a DOS window?
Oh, so can I, yeah, well, here's the thing. It has to go through the Windows subsystem for Linux because, you know, those applications, like say, I don't know, you want to do an LSBLK. LSBLK is an ELF 64-bit binary.
Right, so it has to go through that.
It has to go through Windows subsystem for Linux.
So it's almost like each one of those is a container.
Yeah, they're exactly like containers. Because containers, all containerization is you got many VMs, but without a kernel. That's all a container is. It's a VM without a kernel. Instead, you use the same kernel in the underlying host.
So in this case, it's not a kernel, but it's the interface mimicking.
Yeah. So these are containers for Linux that can run on Windows right next to Windows.
I should do that. One other thing, related back to the effectively, the kind of containers. Do you know if anybody is trying to kind of do the Dockerization kind of stuff? Like you don't run a distribution, you just run one program.
Well, it's kind of like what Docker does because it is like a container, but Docker is much more complex than that strat. It's like a different kind of direction than what they're trying to do with Windows subsystem for Linux. They're just trying to
I
get.
guess maybe so you get distribution in the Windows Store. Can you add your own, or does it have to be from?
Oh no, there's a lot of work in trying to add it. No, Microsoft makes it very easy if you go to MSDN for distribution maintainers to actually package things for the Windows Store,
Yeah,
and gives them a lot of guidance.
You've got to go to the whole Windows Store site.
Oh yeah, I mean, it even says you want to purchase Kali Linux. Well, yeah, it's free. It's obtaining the license, so it's decoding the Microsoft digital signature and validating that you're not getting it from malicious source before it goes to your machine. All sorts of fun stuff.
And say that because again, presumably there's no file system isolation happening.
There is it's called VolFS is what Microsoft calls it, and this is what's flaky. Let me show you. So when you go here to C drive, users, JSON, app data, blah blah blah, and you go to your local state rootfs. There's my rootfs on Kali. What's my home directory? As a root user, let's go to root, and here's my home directory. I can see my desktop pictures. I got a whole bunch of stuff there. I got a file called PO. I got a new text doc, new rich text doc. Ooh, I got a file called PO. I'm going to open it up in Notepad, and I'm going to put a line in there. This is cool, and save. There we go. Perfect. Works flawlessly if you edit an existing file, right? Because it's just file system translation. But what if I try to make a new file? I use PO because it's a Teletubby, right? Teletubbies are easy to use in examples, right? Lala, Po, Nanuki, Winky. You can pronounce it even if you're heavily intoxicated. But let's make a new file here, guys. Right-click, new. Let's make a new text document. We'll call it Lala, and of course it will put the .txt at the end, right? Lala.txt. So I see Lala.txt here, right? You guys see Lala.txt? Now let's see if I can see it from Kali. So let's go over here, and let's type Kali. There we go. Switch to the root user. There we go. All right, let's do an ls. I can see PO. I don't see lala.txt. I see new text document, I think, new rich text document. I don't see, is it there? Yes, it is. But watch this. I cat PO, I see that, this is cool. And of course, because I made it in Windows, it doesn't return.
Got the wrong one.
Yeah, it's got the wrong encoding. So, not too bad. But, is lala.txt there? Well, let's find out. Let's try to, make a new file called lala.txt. How do I do that?
Touch.
Well, touch will make it if it doesn't exist, right? Updates the modification timestamp if it does. Let's try touch. Lala.txt. Can't touch, there's an IO error, because it already exists, but we can't see it. Creepy, isn't it? That's VolFS. So it isn't, and if I type df, guys, I can see, I don't have all the special file systems, I don't have proc or anything like that. If I type df-h capital T for the file system type, look what it says. It says that it's LXFS. This is what Microsoft calls VolFS, capital V, capital F, if you look at any documentation online. It's a Linux subsystem file system. So it's not like a real Linux file system, but everything that goes through your file system has to be interpreted by the kernel. And in the Windows subsystem for Linux, they chose to implement the Linux file system, the top layer of it, right? What do they call it? The VFS table, right? The virtual file system table, in the kernel their way, not kind of like a real container, like Tim was pointing out, where you actually do have a file system, like whatever you choose, whether it's ext4 or whatever. Oh. You can still see it's the same stuff right here, right? LXFS, we got drive FS for C drive and X drive. That's my second drive.
What about USB? Can you do like LS USB?
USB is mounted by the Windows kernel and made available to Windows and given a drive letter so that Linux can see it. If I inserted a USB drive and it became D drive, then I would go to MNTD and it would access that USB drive as a drive, and that's regardless of what file system is on it.
USB device, USB devices. Yeah.
Oh, USB devices. There was a note in OpenSUSE League 42 about that type of development where they were kind of, where it's allowed for certain devices. Honestly, I've never tried it.
I was just jumping on.
But OpenSUSE Leap. So if you go to the Windows, if you go to the description page on the Windows Store, and you actually go there, yeah, I'll go there right now. So go to Windows Store here. Go to Linux, search for Linux. There we go. I've already got all 5 installed. Right? Get the apps. So I already have it installed. But if I click on OpenSUSE Leap here, it actually says they have a bunch of extra really cool stuff down here. There's more to this if you actually go click more. But each one has a different advantage. And this is where if I go back to like Kali, you'll see that even Kali Linux, if I go down here, it's a solid description. Look at this, I've got URLs to go right here, Kali on Windows. Right, there's a WSL tutorial page. So if I want to, go to that website right there, I can actually go to that website and see videos on how to do anything. Right? Just like it's offensive security, or whatever. Does all those videos, and it's the way they like to do it. So there's different benefits, disadvantages, advantages. Like that. But remember, this is just the Windows kernel letting a Linux executable that's already been made run. And if you make a Linux executable because you're a developer and you want to see it run on a LAMP stack, you can. In fact, let's start Apache. You guys want to start Apache? So I'm in, clear my screen there. Apache CTL, if I have it installed. Start. Typing with one hand. There we go. Don't worry about the protocol error, right? It's started. You have PS-EF. I've got Apache running at the bottom there. Apache 2 running. And so how do I get to it? Well, Apache 2 is running listening on port 80. So if I have IS listening on port 80, this isn't going to work unless I edit my Apache config file and change the port number, right? I can't have 2 services running listening on the same port. But I've got it listed on port 80, so if I go to Chrome here, and I click on localhost, there we go. Kali's based in building.
If you were to fire up Apache and start Apache, would you get a socket error?
I would get the exact, yeah, because you can't, because it's listening on port 80. But I could change the port number in the Apache config file on Ubuntu, port 81, and then I could start it.
Assuming the same thing if you're running ISS.
Yeah, say if I ran IS, then make sure I change the port in IS for that application pool, right? Or keep it the default in IS and change the ports in your Linux distro, right? Your Linux container, so to say. Right? So yeah, there's no problem at all. This is what I use it for. I use it for testing programs that I make on a LAMP stack. And that's what it was designed for, and it worked beautifully since day one with a LAMP stack. It also is great if you like to manage machines. So say you've got a nice Ultrabook, like a Lenovo X1 Carbon or something, your company bought you, and it's only got like 8 gigs of RAM or something. Okay, great, so you can't run a lot of VMs in. And you run your dev tools on it, and you've got a LAMP stack running no problem to test things out. And you also have to manage some remote Linux VMs and machines, maybe in the cloud, once you want to take that code and put it in the cloud. So you're going to SSH in it, right? Well, why install PuTTY? Right? SSH, let me go to one of my cloud hosts, trashdevelopers.com. There we go, what's my password? Ooh. Different password. Ah, come on. We can do that actually. Oh, Phil, oh yeah, you know what? There we go, I'm logged in. So as you can see, because there's 152 failed login attempts to review bots on the internet, right? But now I'm on a machine in Mississauga in our data center. That is, if I do like a uname-a called csc.stu.1.trash.com, Fedora 24, right? Frozen for the software that we run on it. But update. So there we go on SSH in there. I could generate keys with SSH keygen, and I could, you know, push them up to that server so that this could be my main dev station. This is not my main dev station, so I can do that. But it's easy to do. So if I exit from that server, I could easily clear my screen. I can do an SSH keygen. Perfect. There we go. I'm gonna put no passphrase. I know that caused a lot of trouble last time. That's okay. On a machine like this, going to that host, I probably would just not at Universal where I live on a rock hopper. There you go. And beautiful. Now I can do SSH copy ID, copy my keys up there, and supply my password once, and I'm in.
Can you SSH into your Windows machine as well?
Yes, you can. So if you want an SSH daemon on Windows, you can have an SSH daemon on Windows. Just start one of your user lands and start the SSH daemon. But you do have to run the Kali.exe. If you want to run Kali.exe as something that starts, you know, with a delay after you boot Windows, then you could make it almost automatic.
What initialization system does it use? System B?
Oh, there's no system D on here at all. It's basically a custom init. That's part of the thing. If you want to package your, if you want to package a Linux distro to work with WSL, you have to follow Microsoft's directions to make a custom init. So if I do like a PS right now, you'll know. Actually, let me just clear my screen here. Because of the projector, I just have to PS-UL. Just do PS dash EDF, just type it ahead. That's good enough. So you notice it's just called /init. It's not a real System 5 init daemon. It's something that was custom made for working with the WSL. So the distribution has to choose to do that. That's why not all distributions work with WSL yet. They have to take that step forward and work with Microsoft to do it. Which is reasonable. And more doing it. The next one that's going to be on the Windows Store next month, I heard, was RHEL. Not bad. Oh, because it's SUSE, right? Oh. What does dmessage do? Your kernel software, there's no kernel. Yeah. So not root, right? So it's like, yeah, function not implemented. It always says function not implemented if you get something where it's like, hey, you need a kernel module, right? Like ls mod, you know, here, it's not a Linux kernel. Windows pretending to be one and drag. Right? Oh yeah, cron works fine, all that stuff, you know, this is a full Linux system. Like if I could a screen here, guys, geez, you know what, I always make an alias for clear called C, and I didn't do that in my .bash rc. It's driving me nuts right now, because I'm typing with one hand. But let's just do an ls on like, I don't know, user bin. Big, right, it's a full Linux history, it's a full Kali history. It's 2.4 gigs, remember? 2.3 gigs, sorry, is what we saw, right?
Can you run LSPCI?
Everyone play. No, eventually I'm going to sit here running this, and you guys have to install this at home too. Okay.
I'd have to have a Windows box first.
It's not installed. It's not installed. I'm not surprised that they didn't include it. But you know, like
But it doesn't say not implemented.
It doesn't say not implemented. Okay. It's not the package name, obviously, but you know, like you can install like Conky and stuff like that, and it works just fine. Like you can install like C Matrix, you know, give it a matrix display. I mean, that's workable. Yeah, go ahead.
You do get in password or PASSWD?
Oh yeah. Like, well, that's just catting as EPSSWD, so I'll just cat it, right?
And then it's got the MSAT numbers.
So it's got all the daemon user accounts, it's got the root user, the top jab, as well as the user you had to add at the bottom, like JSON, right? Postgres and all that stuff.
But it doesn't have the stuff on Windows. I can't read that.
No, you can't do that. Remember, that's why you had to specify a Unix username at the beginning, because it is a separate userland, separate OS, right? To access the password database in Windows, you have to go through a bunch of subsystems, and Linux is, Windows subsystem for Linux ain't gonna have all that probably, right? So, yeah, that's not too bad. You can see I installed the SSH daemon is installed right here. So, yeah, where's the which SSH? There's user S and SSH, so it's user sbin SSH. There we go. And we just bring that up a little bit higher there. No, missing privilege set directory. Oh, nice. Oh, why is it not doing that? Interesting. So let's do this. SC is Cali, right? And let's see what we got in there. SSH. Let's see SSH daemon. Beauty. Start. Boom. Want SSH into ourselves?
Using plenty.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, you could use putty to SSH, but now that you have, you know, or, yeah, that's right. Do I have putty installed? No, let's do it. It's putty. That's like a good 30 kilobyte download, right? Just get the, come on, there you go. It's that weird page. I haven't used putty in a long, long time. 32-bit too, which, go retro. Come on, buddy. So localhost on port 22. Yep. Login is, probably won't allow me as root unless I check the SSH config file. So I'll just log in as JSON and my password. Boom. So if you want remote SSH access to your Windows box, and the cool thing is once you're in here, can you access C drive, D drive, MNDC, MNDG, help script manage Windows files.
Do they have a RSync? Or copies of all?
Oh, there's probably an RSync there you can install. Yeah, probably. Let's switch to root. And let's see if I have RSync first. If not, I can probably apt install it. There we go. We're getting RSync. Exciting, isn't it? No.
Very silly question. Do you know if anybody's trying to run the line? No, because you can't.
You guys are going to install this tonight, and then you're not going to show up for work for the next 3 days because you're trying stuff that shouldn't be done and something that is crazy.
All right. Along the same line, is PowerShell core on the list.
Yeah, you can run PowerShell core on it. That's one of the few things I tried out on Ubuntu, but I did it on my other machine, not on this one. You have to install a lot of binaries. But yeah, that's why, because it's Ubuntu HE, right? So I can run PowerShell on Ubuntu, and then I could use
PowerShell to run Ubuntu to run PowerShell.
Yes. Actually, PowerShell doesn't suck on Linux, though, guys. It's actually kind of cool. Does anyone run PowerShell on Linux? Stop. It's right during the installer in Ubuntu server 18. Right? You see it going back. Oh, cool. Look at PowerShell. Yeah. But let me go back here for a sec, guys. Let me go back here and open up.
Because my wife will not be buying her machine.
So basically, guys, I should have gotten done. This is where we kind of left off, right? Like you can install SSH. Metasploit works really, really well, by the way. Like doing a payload and listening to it works perfectly, right? Metasploit on Windows, Yeah, but you can actually deploy, you can make a malware executable and Metasploit, like maybe reverse TCP attack, and make the malware executable, and then copy it to MNTC, where Defender immediately removes it within a split second, because it's Windows 10 and it's got incredibly good security. You have to disable 6 things in Windows 10 to get that executable to run, and then you can get a backdoor back into Kali. But you can attack Windows 7 machines across the network with no problem. Right? Of course, this is the main use for Windows Subsystem for Linux, is to run a LAN stack. It's for software developers, really. Here are the paths. So the paths, your executable, Kali.exe, where is it? It's in the same folder. Users, JSON, app data, local packages, Kali Linux has the actual distribution itself. That's the 2.4 gig directory, the Kali Linux.something number. And then C drive, users, name, app data, local, Microsoft Windows apps, Kali Linux, the same path, same kind of number. Kali.exe will be the actual executable, right? So you'll see that's where you're going to find these things if you're looking for them, or you can just search for Kali.exe. Like we said before, if you want to get to the file system that is used by your distro, it's not a real file system. It's basically just Windows files on NTFS, but to access it, they use that, volfs Linux file system built into the WSL. And so, copy to it from Windows Display Key, as we saw when we tried to make a wallet.txt, it made it, but we couldn't see it from the actual user land, right? It was there, it just couldn't touch it, right? That part is flaky. But accessing Windows from Linux userland is not flaky whatsoever, right? So what does that mean? You have to use symlinks. If you've got content on C drive that you've made and you want to test in your LAMP stack, just make a symlink to it. That's what Microsoft says right now. Apparently they're going to make it not flaky. It's just to do that requires a lot more effort, and they want to spend the effort making the important stuff that people wanted first, but it's on their list of stuff to do, right? And this is my final thought stuff. There's limitations. Yeah, no nmap, no Wireshark, none of the tools I like to use. But I use it for SSH. I have a machine that I use to manage. It just runs Windows 10, no VMs. And yeah, I do development on it. And yes, I do the occasional Linux development on it. And I run a LAMP stack when I need to. And if I want to manage my Linux machines, I just start Ubuntu. .exe. I don't install Buddy. I do a lot of Python, any Python stuff I do there, I'm going to do on Windows, I'm going to do in Windows Subsystem for Linux. Of course, the last reason is the reason that you guys are probably going to install it right at home, right? With Mono VMs, I'm running 5 Linux distros on my Windows kernel simultaneously if you run all 5 executables, right? So, and you can run them twice. I can run Ubuntu 10 times, 10 different user lands. Yes, you can. Why? No idea. But yeah, you can do that. So that's the end of my presentation, guys. I hope you enjoyed it.
If you run multiple instances of Kali, do they share the same home directory, or do they?
No, actually, that's fascinating. Remember I said that you could run 10 copies of, like, say, Kali Linux, whatever? It's a snapshot. Remember that root file system that said we went to it by going to a local state directory? That's the master. Every time you run Kali.exe, it takes a snapshot of that, and it's your working directory. So if you run it 10 times, you take a snapshot of that, and it just modifies the changes and saves the changes to a changed state. And actually, when you run Kali, it asks which one of your changed state do you want from the last one. Yeah, it's really cool. It also allows you to reset. So if you wipe out the etc directory, so you do an rm-rf on the etc directory. Linux is pretty much boost, right? Nope. Because you wiped it out in your working snapshot. The local state does not change, so all you have to do is reset the application. Just go to Programs and Features, Apps and Features, right-click Kali Linux, reset application, and your Linux is fine again. Yeah, it's really cool. That's actually on the help page in the Windows Store. When you go down to like Kali Linux or other, just read, say, you can read, if you have any problem with this, like you mess something up, you really screw up, just reset the application, you're good to go, you don't have to download it. Yeah. So there's actually a Kali Linux video on that, if you guys want to see it. There's Google is kind of laying this down for me, but oh, did I make a typo right now?
Search.
One hand type. I gotta have a mic to split my shirt. There we go.
Excellent.
Perfect. Okay, Kali, here we go. So Kali.org. Perfect. Enabling Kali. They got videos. Perfect. Adding exclusions to Windows Defender. Recovering from a failed Kali instance. There you go. This is how you recover from a failed Kali instance. And what they actually do is they wipe out the FC directory. So you got Windows here. And they're typing Kali. Well, they're opening a command prompt, and they're going to type Kali.exe from a command prompt. Doesn't matter how you open it, right? There we go. So on occasion, you might do something stupid, you know, get your document with WSL. So what they're doing is they did a sudo rm-rf on FC. That's what they typed. Sudo rm-rf on FC. So it's gone. So they checked it, and now they try to run Kali again. He's trying to run Kali again, and you get some error code. You can't load the user land. The user land is no etc directory. Linux is pooched. So what do they do? Simple. Go to apps and features. Find Kali. Hurry up. Scroll down. There we go. Click on it. Advanced options, and then there's a little reset button. Use the other distros as well. You click reset. Now it says we're going to get the fresh copy. Because as soon as you install Kali Linux or any distribution from the Windows Store, it keeps a pristine copy and everything else is in a snapshot.
So that means any customizations on call.
So any software you added since you installed from the Windows Store will then be gone too because you're reverting back to an older snapshot. But you don't have to download anything else. You usually you're gonna probably, if you're doing the etc directory, you probably didn't download a lot. But it's kind of good that it happens. But that also allows you to run multiple instances of it too, and that's how instances work. They just take multiple different snapshot streams, and then you're prompted which stream you want.
Can you take a snapshot of the snapshot? So, like one advantage of the Dockerized environment, which this is starting to look closer and closer to it the more I hear, is that you can make your own base. I am based on Ubuntu, but I mean, frankly, we don't get anything done until we have a pilot result. So, okay, I'll make Ubuntu, add pilot, save the results, and then say, now I'm based off my dev environment. Go do something. So, can you do that same type of thing where you take a base Linux and then build, say, your LAMP stack on it?
I don't know if you can. It makes sense that if they could take a snapshot at the beginning, they could take a snapshot at any time later on, right? Yeah, it makes sense. Maybe there's a command to do it, right? I just never came across it. But there is, believe it or not, there's actually quite a few commands I didn't talk about. I didn't think you guys would be interested in, I wasn't interested in myself, that were on MSDN to manage WSL, Windows commands. And there's probably one that will take a snapshot of your original snapshot, allow you to manage all sorts of weird things like that.
Yeah, or like you just get to a good state and then just...
Yeah, you can revert to yesterday, right? Yeah, go to yesterday instead of like day one, right? Yeah.
Can we get the Linux malware on this installation?
Well, if the malware is 64-bit, I guess it would run on Windows kernel.
If they've implemented the hooks that the malware needs.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, there are, for example, Trojans or cryptocurrency miners malware. Yeah. So Is Windows kind of protecting this, or?
It's good to say it would have to be the Defender and the user access protection part of Windows that would, you know, see if something like that is running, if they built that in there. I built they did, right? Yeah. And we're going to try and put some purposeful malware on Linux user land tonight. You know, let us know what happens. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You're in development mode, you have no security.
If you're running software, right, you have to consider that part of your attack surface. So yeah, your email client, you love your Linux email client, and you know,
Yeah,
I think it's reasonable to consider that.
Oh, but everyone likes to ignore that, especially dev world. I mean, what's the biggest thing right now? Container security. It sucks because nobody cares about it ever. So there are people like Kevin Mitnick. He's still around. You know what he does? He has his own company that he gets paid to hijack other people's clouds, like hijack your entire tenant. And it's so easy to do if you have containers. You're using paths. Why? Because there's like no security. We built for functionality first, security second, right? So same deal here. It's like, I don't think Microsoft spent any time thinking about security when they made WSL. It was a developer thing, right? Just like nobody thought about security with Docker and Kubernetes, which now has a lot of interest that way. So.
You mentioned that Windows Defender is quite good. So then what's the point of having antivirus software?
That's a good question. I run another antivirus software on top of, in addition to Defender, only because I have
Can you?
on machines I have the CPU power to do so, and I just don't feel like I shouldn't. But when other like friends and family members, I don't know what you guys do, but when friends and family members say, "Hey, I got this new laptop. You know, it's not a good laptop, it's a cheap laptop, like sub $500 laptop. It's gutless. What do I do to make a security decision? Just use Defender. Don't install 5 antiviruses because it's going to slow down, right? Because Defender doesn't suck into those things. It's actually quite good. We had a couple of students of mine actually put it to the test, and Defender caught more than everything except for one antivirus, and it was very minor. It was Sophos, not one extra thing. But Defender was catching stuff that like ABT, Shakira, Norton, you know, whatever could give you catch. Like Defender is really, really good. It's probably because Microsoft paid for a lot of that from existing vendors and included it.
Can you run Defender and antivirus? I tried, and they say if you run antivirus, you have to disable Defender.
Yeah, most of the time you do. I run both.
Except Sophos.
You have to.
If you run Sophos, you can have both.
Yeah.
What?
Sophos is allowed. Sophos.
Sophos?
That's what I use.
Oh,
They
okay.
allow both, but yeah. Currently, there's a huge mistrust in Defender because in the past, Windows and the virus scanner was not that good, so you had to have a
Defender sucked
third-party
in
virus
Ames
scanner.
earlier, yeah.
But now they say Defender is even better than most of the virus scanners.
Yeah, I got to admit that Windows is pretty secure actually. We teach an ethical hacking and penetration testing course at my college, and we go pretty far in depth actually, and it's really, really hard to hack Windows 10. It is really, really easy to hack Mac OS, even the latest versions. If I saw a couple Macs in the room, if you don't have the update from last week, I can reboot all of your machines in the same Wi-Fi access point with a denial of service attack, CVE 2018-4407, and inject malware in it. You know? And plus times 10. And Linux, well, Linux is hackable if you don't take measures to secure it, as we all know, right? Right? You know, using like passphrases and SSH.
So Defender protects you against rootkits too? Rootkits, I mean.
If it's detected, you get out a 0-day rootkit, there's nothing you can do about that. Right? We're not at the AI level yet, where we have anomaly-based detection that works properly. I think BlackBerry just bought a company that pretends they do that in the States or something. But yeah, so yeah, kind of. So security is kind of like a fun thing. You gotta have a sense of humor, no matter what OS you run. I run all 3 OSs. I run Macs. I run, for development, I run Macs, as well as Windows machines and Linux machines, and Windows machines that run Windows Subsystem for Linux, and Linux machines that run VMs of pretty much everything else. And just kind of have that nice sense of humor and sense of security. Make sure you're, if something needs to be blown away, you're not too heartbroken. You have backup, so if you don't have backup, who cares? We don't go together for friends. Nobody cares if you're boring to listen to your thing. So, all right, any other questions? You want me to try anything else out, guys? Any other wish lists? No, it's good. Typing with one hand really sucked today. I should have used this mic instead of this one, so I fell off. Yeah. Like, nobody types with one hand. Who types with one hand?
All right, thank you very much, Jason. That was very cool and also very, very weird.
Very weird. I'll agree with you there. It is weird. Very weird.
All right, so thank you everybody for coming. As we said, if you want to come for a drink and dinner with us, a bunch of us will head over to the tannery. We'll probably try the taste of the tannery first. But I think it was last month they closed early. So if we're not there, walk down the length of the building and we'll be a caper.
Also, when I was locking the door, I noticed that it's really gross outside. It's really slippery, so please be very careful when you're trying to get home and or to or from the bar.
A bit more beer. And stop.